again. Well, this is one of those videos that I guess seems kind of necessary, but hopefully isn't too dull comparatively or whatever. I mean, if you're the kind of man or young man who only likes wearing branded clothing, it's, possibly not going to be very, I don't know what's going to be a catalyst that's going to convert you, apart from, again, I keep coming back to what kind of job you might have. And so, I was reviewing some more of those capsule wardrobe videos yesterday just to refresh my own mind. And I still reached the same conclusion that maybe those videos are a little more PowerPoint presentation, a little more production value, but I still don't entirely agree with the premise that it entirely works. I have, like I said, if you have a job that requires suits, you're just going to need multiple suits. But even if you don't have a job that requires suits, you're not necessarily going to want to wear those faded jeans and a sweatshirt to that job if those are part of your capsule. Like, I would ditch that sweatshirt, but I'll come back to that, in a minute. I have also never became white shirt guy. Obviously, if you're doing a capsule thing or a suit thing, then it's pretty easy. You're gonna, you're just gonna need 5 dress shirts or whatever to get through a week. Some can be white, some can be blue. The sport shirts that you wear on the weekend or whatever can, then be, you know, livelier, I guess. But if you're trying for only 15 things in your closet, I'm not sure how long those clothes would last. A season, maybe 2. I'm not sure how well they would do in the winter in your climate. That, we can debate, like I said, whether, I mean, if you have the jeans and the sweatshirt for, doing the yard work, that's fine. But are you then going to consider that part of your office wardrobe? No. Are you going to be able to get by with only one sweater if you live in a place that's kind of cold? Probably, again, no. Are you going to want to substitute in, instead of multiple pairs of jeans that might not be office appropriate where you are, as opposed to more pairs of chinos? Yes or no. However, that question is supposed to be answered correctly. Less jeans, more, you know, chinos, I guess, would, is what I'm trying to say. Pleated, most likely, if it's for work. Plain front, more likely, if it's for whatever. I used to, well, I was talking about the thrift store thing, and I wanted to get into that more first before I got more into the capsule thing, just very briefly. Um, like I said, I used to have the worst time trying to find any pants ever that fit me at a thrift store. Shirts was very easy if I didn't mind, the condition for the price, but pants was almost never a go. So I almost always had to buy new pants anyway. So that's a cost that you're going to incur, but you're still going to need, realistically, almost 10 pairs of pants to get through, more than a couple weeks. Because just going hiking in Yosemite one day, I, really, really roughed up a pair of their, JCPenney cargo pants. So, if I can grind through a pair of pants sometimes in, a 24-hour period, depending on what I'm doing, obviously an office job, you're not going to be that, rough on your clothes, I would hope. But, they're still going to show wear with laundry and whatnot. So it's a thing. Um, but coming back to the thrift, I mean, the thrift store, I was saying, how I used to find pretty good stuff. Actually, the thing about the thrift store, and I've seen other, at least one other person have the same kind of problem I do, is if you're kind of a shopaholic, even when you go to a place that's cheap like a thrift store, you tend to pick out a lot of stuff that you think you'll use, and then you don't. You know, it was cheap, but it doesn't really go with your other stuff. Again, for me, it was mostly just shirts, so it didn't really matter. It's like, okay, I spent $3 on a shirt and I didn't really like it. I didn't lose that much, but the pure volume that you can leave with, if you're not careful, you know, you kind of have to bring somebody responsible with you to hold your wallet while you're there, so you're not, you know, oh, you know, this dorky paisley thing looks good, right? And they can be like, maybe not. You know, that used to be cool in the club, but you probably won't end up using it, or you know, something along those lines. Um, and so on the the opposite side of the coin of that is I don't like I said, I'm not going to particularly endorse any one store, but I think if you just needed kind of a generic suity kind of wardrobe, like any Men's Warehouse or J.C. Penney's will have, kind of the amount of pants and dress shirts you'll need to get by if you're absolutely scraping the bottom of the barrel and you're just starting out. You're literally just out of college or whatever and need a whole new wardrobe. Because again, this whole idea that you're going to throw away all your existing clothes and just start from scratch is almost patently absurd. But I understand the principle of, well, obviously if you're going to build a wardrobe, it would make more sense to, okay, what if I owned nothing? What would I need? So I'm not, arguing against, making a list and checking it twice. Haha. um, I'm just saying that you're probably not living in a vacuum and having no clothing to start with. My point there, before I lose my train of thought, would be that just changing your shirt doesn't actually change your outfit. So if you wear the same pants and the same blazer to work the next day, but you've changed your white shirt to a blue denim shirt, people are going to kind of know that you're wearing the same clothes. Like, okay. And, they also in these videos never quite go into the depths of, well, how much other stuff might you need. Again, I'm not going to dwell on it, but we were talking practical tips. You might need thermal clothing, you might need warm socks that, most people in the one of the complaints in the office world is you're wearing these thin little socks. I think a lot of people kind of take a separate pair of shoes with them if it's wet or rainy or whatever. So you can change your socks when you change your shoes. Obviously, we're not going to go overboard with the common sense kind of stuff that if you have to bring something, bring it. um the I mean, like I said, I kind of said Men's Warehouse. I don't know. I've never been to a Men's Warehouse. I have some polyester suits that are probably even lower quality of theirs, and that I just kind of bought because it was like, well, I don't have a suit in this color. What's $80? Let's see how it goes. And I've never like worn them. Most of the photos, if I might do a kind of a slideshow again in this, just with a few things more for color scheme example, and I don't have any photos of those that will be included. They just tend to be kind of shiny fabric. The cut isn't necessarily terrible. Obviously, polyester, the feel will never be as nice as some other fabric. Probably a lot of suiting typically comes in different thickness or weight of whatever of wool. And so if wool is not your thing or whatever, there's other options that, and all that. We'll probably touch on that a lot more in a different video. So I'm not going to go too far into it here. And the same is pretty true for, polyester ties. I think polyester ties are fine if you're just starting out. And then when you get a little bit of money, maybe you'll buy some silk ones. I don't think you need necessarily a different tie for every day of the week as much as you need a different shirt for every day of the week. So if people go, oh, he's wearing the same tie on Thursday that he wore on Tuesday, they're probably not going to have that big of an issue with it compared to, if you're literally wearing the same pants and shirt every day of the week, or seem to be wearing the same pants and shirt every day of the week. That was one of the, and again, coming back to movies, in The Fly, Jeff Goldblum goes to his closet and says, oh, Albert Einstein did this. He had the same exact brown suit for every day of the week, so he never had to waste time thinking about what to wear. It's like, well, okay, that's effective, but a little oversimplified for, I think, what most of your co-workers, or especially, customers, might think about. Why does this guy never change his clothes? And obviously you are changing your clothes, but if they don't know you're changing your clothes, then you might as well not be changing your clothes. I mean, I worked one time in a warehouse with a guy who literally didn't change his clothes. He wore the same literal clothes every single day I was there. Thank God that was only a temporary job. Anyway, I made a list of my own of a little more realistic, if you want to call it, capsule. I'll just read that literally, and whether or not I have time for a slideshow after that is starting to look like probably not. Yes, again, will a capsule get you through more than a season or two? Again, the capsule thing, they seem to work best seasonally again. Like, it looks like it's mostly an autumn, spring kind of weight of clothing for most of it. And so, yeah, if you wore the same stuff in autumn and then had to kind of bulk up a bit in winter and then came back to some of the same stuff in spring, that would probably work. You're probably not going to blow through, like, again, that many pairs of pants in that amount of time. But if you stain your shirts pretty often, you're the messy kid at the cafeteria table or something. I don't know what to tell you. Again, the thrift store may be your friend. But, I put here, I think, 10 pants instead of like 4 pairs or whatever they said. I think, like, whatever they say in the capsule videos, just kind of double it is kind of a rule of thumb almost. Because, yeah, you're still going to want probably 1 or 2 pairs of jeans for casual use. But maybe instead of the tan khakis, like, again, if you're buying less pants, then eliminate the colors you're not going to wear that much. So if you're really a tan pant guy, then fine. But if you're not really a tan pant guy, then get gray and blue chinos instead, and don't buy tan pants you're not going to wear. But you're still going to need pants for the work and pants for the weekend and pants for going out on a Friday night or whatever. Instead of the one sweater and one sweatshirt thing, like I said, sweatshirt would be separate for me. Sweatshirt would fall in the category of where he puts Henleys and underwear and stuff. So you just would have that for lying around. You probably have several from your university already. You're not going to go out and buy a brand new sweatshirt. But instead, you're going to probably want, if you live in a colder environment, especially, probably 3 sweaters, because again, you don't want to wear the same sweater, excuse me, to your office every single day. So, like, blue might be an obvious choice, gray might be an obvious choice, but then, like I said, mixing it up with a burgundy is way I would go. Maybe more V-necks than cables. Crews. Sorry, if you buy a cable, it's almost going to be a crew. So if you want to mix it up too, you could have a cable in a different color, maybe a charcoal, or they make a lot of them in green now to be more Irish than just the traditional natural white. Or the other thing I didn't touch on previously was the undyed thing. Kind of the natural look is kind of another. It's not the same exact literal thing as beige, but if you're kind of into that aesthetic, whatever. That's I'll probably touch on that more when we come around to tweeds anyway, or sweaters in another video. Again, okay, I put 5 dress shirts, and that's being very Spartan. Again, that would be like 3 white and 2 blue, or 2 white and 3 blue, or something along those lines, or one kind of pink or gray one or something to kind of mix it up. Typically, I think the white shirt is almost as overused by a lot of guys is like the black look, where it's the monochromatic. It, I mean, yeah, you're going out to the club and you want to look stylish, but you also kind of look like the waiter to me. So, I don't know. I don't really like the all black look. But I don't really like white shirts with everything either. I think that you should, save that for court day. Like, okay, the white one is for when you really want to look peak and have your tie, that really pops. In the 80s, it was the power tie, and I was going to talk more about that in another video too, so we'll save that. But so, you could maybe get by with only one white shirt. Again, like I said, I've never been the white shirt guy. I've always kind of like looked at the white shirt guy and gone, oh man, if only I was the blue jeans and white shirt guy. But I like patterns, and I don't like shirts that are impossible to keep clean, and I don't like and again, those guys are not typically wearing their best dress shirt anyway. It's a casual white shirt, and so again, sacrifice some other piece of your capsule for the casual white shirt or whatever instead of, again, a denim one that you're not going to wear to the office. I don't know, something along those lines. But like I said, you're going to need more than 3 shirts to get through a week if you're not in high school. It's just not realistic. Same with sport coats. You're probably going to need 3 sport coats, not one. Maybe a brown one, maybe a gray one, almost definitely a blue one. If you're not into brown, then that's easy. Okay, but brown and blue is a good combination, and I do have at least one photo that I'll insert. I already said about the sweatshirt and the faded jeans. Shoes. They tend to act like you can get by with 1 or 2 pairs of shoes. Yeah, again, if you don't mind wear and tear a little bit, I think you're still going to need at least 2 pairs of sneakers for your day off. I think you're going to need 2 or 3 pairs of shoes. Again, maybe the black ones for court day, and less stylish black ones, and then maybe a pair of brown ones. And then if you're, boot guy on the weekends, especially, or you can get away with boots at your office, you're going to need still probably 2 to 3 pairs of boots. I mean, if you're working in a warehouse, you're going to, need boots more than you need shoes. So, adjust for, maximum impact here. But hiking boots are different than work boots. Typically, combat boots are better for hiking boots than they are for this and that. It depends on the sole. It depends. Again, I'm going to do a whole shoe video and I'm going to do a whole boot video. So probably the easiest way to get people to come to my channel if I just put Thursday boots in the header here, but I'm going to take the slow route. And I didn't do any real brand comparison yet. Obviously, I'm saving a little bit of that, although, like I said, Mervin's disintegrated, and then my new go-to became LL Bean, because LL Bean was kind of similar. They have some preppy stuff and some outdoorsy stuff, and not a lot of above office casual kind of stuff. If you're looking for suiting, there won't be a lot of that. Orvis has a little bit more ties and things like that, I think, but still not quite, law firm appropriate. I come back to that as kind of a default, even though I've never worked in a law firm. It's just kind of like, I think, again, the jury duty thing really rammed this home, that the only 2 guys there in a suit were the lawyers. and then the only guy there in a casual outfit and a tie was myself. And so that, really kind of uh, reaffirmed what I've always kind of viewed as kind of one of the last jobs where people do still really wear suits every day. Most other jobs are more service industry now than super, professional. So, if you're watching this and you want to dress more professional, uh, hopefully this won't be a total waste of your time, because I think that's an okay starting point. But I think most people who are watching this aren't going in that direction, so they don't need to worry about where to get the best quality suit. And I couldn't tell you where to get the best quality suit anyway. So there's that. Okay, so next I think that pretty much covers the capsule thing. I mean, there's other stuff that kind of they don't talk about at all, like headwear, and they don't go into accessories too much. Obviously, again, depending on your pay scale and your funding, do you need a watch anymore now? Maybe not. You can probably ask a random stranger, what time is it, if you really have to. Da 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 da. Are you really into rings and necklaces or not? I've never been a jewelry guy that much, so I couldn't tell you why you'd necessarily want to do that. But that kind of sums up the capsule thing. So there's not too much to add to that. I want to touch on some definitions about terminology or whatever that tends to come up. I use the term khaki and chino interchangeably, like most people do. When I talk about formal, I tend to mean, yeah, like I said, business suit is technically semi-formal, not fully formal. If you want to learn more about black tie and tuxedos, obviously most people now would say, well, that's not practical clothing. It's, well, in a certain situation, a tuxedo is a practical garment. It's just not something you're going to necessarily have in your closet forever. So most guys don't buy a tuxedo anymore. They rent one if they're going to be in a wedding or something. I think that I have one dinner jacket that's not black, and when I'll ever wear it, I don't know. But it wasn't super expensive compared to what I thought tuxedos would be. But it's an expense that you may never use, so don't buy things you don't need, I guess, would be the practical advice. But then again, having something if you do need it is also practical, so you can weigh that depending on your lifestyle. I uh, I I get a lot more use out of sport coats than I do out of suits, so that's why I have more sport coats. And again, most people out in public, they see a sport coat now and they think it's a suit, but you can't let that bother you if you want to dress the way you want to dress without being too stuffy or being too rigid, but still looking presentable or whatever. Like I said, I think a nice array of sport coats is not the worst way to go. If I had breakdown for that, so formal to casual. Obviously, casual is pretty much almost anything. So there's levels of casual. Again, jeans and a sweatshirt is you know not even the bottom level of casual. You can go below that, but starting with there as a base. Khakis and a sport shirt would be the maybe a slight step up from jeans, and then above that, a sport jacket without a tie, a sport jacket with a tie, a less nice suit, a top quality suit, and then formal wedding attire. That's easy enough. In those levels, now when you move up in those levels, almost everything below a decent suit is off the rack. So this, you can walk into Target and buy it. That's off the rack. Above that, in the bracket, like I said in the previous video, where I own some clothing that is made to measure. And that's where they're not measuring me. I'm giving them my measurements, and I'm getting a garment in return that's supposed to fit me, hopefully a little bit better than just L, XL, M, or 48. It'll still say 48. So it's it's kind of a gray area because I'm sending them the measure 48 and they're making 48, but it's not pre-made theoretically, hence made to measure, which is a step down from bespoke, where there's an actual fitting process where you go in multiple times to make sure that it actually is correct and not pinching you in this area and not bunching up in that. And With made to measure, what you typically sometimes have to do is still go and get the sleeve cuffs altered. You know, they'll be too long or whatever, because they're just going to throw a generic sleeve on the end of the thing, which is almost always too long for my arms. You know, because if I buy the short, they don't just make it shorter, they tend to make it narrower and tighter, and so the jacket doesn't fit, even though all I wanted was shorter. And a lot of the jackets now, from some brands at least, are coming shorter in the thigh area anyway, and I don't like that. So I definitely want to try and order the regular length and then just have the sleeves altered. Your results may vary. And that's kind of all my terminology that I think is, if somebody can jog my memory in the comments if I said something that they didn't like. Other than that, I don't see there's too much more to add.